Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody. Who is here for the first time? Thank you for coming. What's your good name?
Pallavi.
Pallavi from?
New Delhi.
New Delhi. Okay. And you're?
Carl Christian.
Carl Christian from? Local. Okay. Thank you for coming. I'm also first time here, so I know how it feels. It's all a bit strange and new. Just go with the flow. Feel the energy. I haven't been back here in 15 years. I've never been to this place, so it's like, it's all new. And for those of you who are regulars, well, just every day is a new day. Every day is a new chance. Haribol. Nice to see you. So, it's great to be back and see so many familiar faces and some new faces as well. Today we're reading from Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, text 32. Dhyana Yoga. This is Lord Krishna speaking about the yoga system. Admam pamyena sarvatra samam pashyati arjuna sukham va yadiva dukkam sayogi paramo mataha. He is a perfect yogi who by comparison to his own self sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Report. One who is Krishna conscious is a perfect yogi. He is aware of everyone's happiness and distress by dint of his own personal experience. The cause of the distress of a living entity is forgetfulness of his relationship with God. And the cause of happiness is knowing Krishna to be the supreme enjoyer of all the activities of the human being, the proprietor of all lands and planets, and the sincerest friend of all living entities. The perfect yogi knows that the living being who is conditioned by the modes of material nature is subjected to the threefold material miseries due to forgetfulness of his relationship with Krishna. And because one in Krishna consciousness is happy, he tries to distribute the knowledge of Krishna everywhere. Since the perfect yogi tries to broadcast the importance of becoming Krishna conscious, he's the best philanthropist in the world, and he's the dearest servitor of the Lord. Nachatasyavan manusyeshu kaschin me priyakritamaha. Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, text 69. In other words, a devotee of the Lord always looks to the welfare of all living entities. And in this way, he's factually the friend of everyone. He's the best yogi because he does not desire perfection in yoga for his personal benefit, but tries for others also. He does not envy his fellow living entities. Here is a contrast between a pure devotee of the Lord and a yogi interested only in his personal elevation. The yogi who has withdrawn to a secluded place in order to meditate perfectly may not be as perfect as a devotee who is trying his best to turn every man toward Krishna consciousness. Om Jnanatimarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Tadaki Svapadantikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam purnam gayate girim, yat kripadamaham vande Sri Gurudinataranam, Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyareva cha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna. Hare Krishna. So I'm very happy and fortunate, grateful to be back here in Copenhagen. Why are we here? Because our dear friend Nirada Prabhu invited us to be here. We are simply trying to experience happiness in this world by having loving relationships with our friends, our associates, our family members. The living entity is continuously searching out happiness. This is our pursuit. We're in pursuit of happiness. Who is here today because they want to be happy? Okay. Anybody here today because they want to be unhappy and sad? Well, even if it is unhappiness and distress that you're searching out, that might be your flavor of happiness. That is permissible in this liberal country of Denmark. If it is distress that you're seeking, so be it. Be you granted unlimited misery and distress, if that is your happiness. So Krishna is speaking here in Bhagavad Gita about a yogi. What is a yogi? A yogi is a perfected being, is a person who has understood how to be in balance. Yoga means balance. To be balanced in body, mind, and spirit. To be balanced with the world. To be balanced with yourself. To be balanced with the universe. What is a perfect yogi? A perfect yogi is a person who sees the true equality in all beings. Who sees everybody with an equal vision. Does not make distinctions. Like when we go out into the world, we tend to make distinctions. We tend to look through our own subjective eye. Oh, I like this. Oh, I don't like that. And that's why a lot of people say, well, happiness is a very subjective thing. Just like, for instance, your parents like certain music which you might hate. And they may feel the same about your music. Has this ever happened to you? Even amongst friends sometimes. You think like, we're friends, but we just don't share the same taste, You like a movie and they say it was awful, it was terrible, didn't like it at all, like that. So, gustibus non est disputandum. You can't argue about taste, because taste is what you have. Like you dress according to the norms of others, because they have to look at you. But you should eat according to your own taste, because the food goes into your mouth. So you have to eat it and like it. Now, when we're talking about yoga or Krishna consciousness, we're not talking about happiness or taste that is subjective, that is something that you can argue about. What we're talking about, the deep, profound happiness in the heart of the living entity that we're all searching out. You see, Sanskrit is a very specific language. It is very scientific. In this verse, happiness and distress is described as sukham and dukham. Sukha dukkha. Sukhe dukkhe same kritva. Just like our little fellow here. He felt slightly unhappy. Because it's boring, when the big people talk, it's boring. There's just nothing going on, So he needs a little entertainment from daddy or mommy. So our perceptions of what happiness and distress is, they change through our journey in this world. But what we're actually hankering for, that deep sense of happiness, that profound bliss and ecstasy, In Sanskrit it's called Ananda. Ananda is the happiness of the heart. It is the actual, profound, complete happiness. The living entity is Satchit Ananda. In other words, we are eternal. We are full of knowledge. And we are blissful. We are joyful. This Ananda is our nature. It's our birthright. And anybody who tries to claim or tries to prove to us that this is not so is trying to cheat you. So this happiness, this profound sense of happiness, is there in the heart of every living entity. And we are actually all born happy. Have you ever watched the little kids? It's like Jesus says, you should be like the children. Because what do children do? They play. And they run around and they scream and yell. I mean, they call it singing. We call it screaming, right? So they just, do their thing. They don't care how they're dressed. They don't, You remember when you were a kid? We have all been kids one day, believe it or not. And we have been happy. As happy as Larry, as they say in English. But then, at one point something happened. We went to school. And we studied. And we learned how to be unhappy. And it took us a long time and a lot of effort. But we succeeded in the art of becoming unhappy. And now we are grown up, sophisticated people. We know how to do things in the proper way. And we learn how to become unhappy in very fancy ways. We give it many different names, and many different descriptions. But there is a deep sense of emptiness and of longing in the hearts of every living entity on this planet. So, to reawaken this true happiness, this ananda in our heart, is the process of Krishna consciousness. And it is mainly experienced through the chanting of God's names. Because Krishna, He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Krishna means all attractive. So He's the source, not only of all existence, including ourselves, He's the source of that happiness. He's the source of that ananda, the source of that bliss. So, if you want the good stuff, you have to go to the source. You have to go where it comes from. And that is Krishna. So when we chant Krishna's name, we're connecting with Krishna directly through His name. We're going straight to the source. And we're tasting that nectar of the gods, that nectar of immortality, through the holy name. Just like a few months ago, I was in Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj. And a lot of people had the same idea like I did. There was 110 million people there. On the 10th of February, 45 million people took their holy bath in Ganga, Jamuna and Saraswati. And I was there. And I can vouch, I can honestly tell you, it really felt like 45 million people. Because for 10 square miles, there was only people. There was only heads of people that you could see. And everybody had the same idea. I have to go and take my dip. I have to take my bath. And you wonder, why can't they come out at a different time of the year? Why does everybody have to do it at the same time of the year? But it was quite interesting to see, even though there was quite many of us with the same idea. And it's a small place. It's not a huge place. Because it's 3 rivers coming together. So you can imagine the confluence of 2 rivers, and one is invisible because it runs under the ground. So it's not a big geographical location. If you put 45 million people, you would imagine there would be stampedes, there would be riots, there would be all sorts of disasters, but no. The only problem was at the train station, because some contractors had used substandard materials, so some railing gave in and some people crushed. They fell over that. But where the people went to take the bath, there was no disturbance whatsoever. So you can be with 45 million people doing the same thing, and it's peaceful. It's quite blissful. It's a quite enlivening experience. And you can actually taste that ananda, that nectar of the gods, when you're doing these type of austerities, these type of activities. Or you can be in your own little cubicle, your own little hole in the wall, or flat, or hugebo, or your own little domain, whatever you call home. You can be by yourself or with a friend or a relative. But if there is disharmony, if there is not a sense of unity, if there is no higher purpose that we're connecting together, then we're not only feeling distraught, we're feeling quite annoyed and quite upset. Have you ever been with somebody and they didn't have the same idea like you and you got slightly annoyed by them? It's called different names, you know? You call it friends, relatives, or whatever you might call it. But why doesn't everybody has the same idea like me? Huh? So, Emerson wrote about this. He said there's so much variety in the world. So many different colors, shapes, forms, life forms, and personalities. And for the most part, we are not happy. We're not elated about these differences. We are actually quite fearful. We're actually quite disturbed by it. Now, for the most part, he says that this sense of disturbance, because we think everybody should be like me, everybody should like the same things I like. That would make the world an easier place. So, he says that this feeling of disturbance comes because we are out of touch with our own true self. We have disconnected from our own hearts. And we have accepted so many superficial upadis or designations. We're thinking, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm an Indian or a Danish or Swiss or Swedish, or I'm a this or a that. And that's the only way how I can function, and that's the only way how the world can go on for me. And then all of a sudden you have all these other people who have a different idea. They have a different plan. They come here and they say, no, this is also our place, and we want to live here now. And you think, wow, that's scary, that's frightening. So, to be in harmony with oneself means to ponder and to actually ask the pertinent question, who am I? And what am I doing here in this world? And why am I suffering? Why are things not going the way I want them to go? Now, many people have come up with different types of philosophies and ideologies, but a fact of the matter is, things are not going the way we want them to go. Otherwise, why is it that summer only lasts for like about a week and a half in Scandinavia? Can anybody explain to me? I just come from West Africa, and the climate is always between 28 and 36 degrees. And every day the sun's out. Even in the rainy season, the sun's out. So it rains and then the sun is back out. So you know, it's predictable. Why? Because you're close to the equator. But if you decide to live in the Nordic lands, well, that's what you get. You know, you get good apples and good potatoes, but you get lousy weather. So, take the good and the bad. Sukha dukkha. Huh? There is happiness and distress, but they're all based on the perception of the senses. Matra sparshas dukkhamteya sitoshna sukha dukkada agama paino nityastam stitiksha bharata. They will come and go, and like the coming and going of the seasons. Like I asked my friend Brahma Muhurta, who is a German but he lives in Sweden, I asked him, when is a good time to visit? Because I don't like the snow so much, even though I grew up in the mountains of Switzerland. I'm kind of done with snow. I feel I had my quota. I have reached my limits with snow. So, you know, like certain things, like, you know, chocolate or other things, you just feel at one point, that's it, I'm done. You know, even you come and you offer me chocolate, I might pass. It's just certain things you reach your limits, and then you think, no more, I can't do this anymore. So, I asked him, when is a good time to visit Sweden? Yeah, I want it to be warm. He said, summer will be on a Friday, so you have to come on a Friday. So, I'm not going on a Friday, I'm going on a Sunday, and I'm staying till Thursday. So, let's see, I hope. It's not going to be too bad. But this is pretty nice as far as Denmark is concerned. That's why everybody's out. And as soon as the sun comes out, all the boys take their shirts off because they feel, it's summertime, right? And we have to show the world our white, skinny self. But, you see, true happiness is already there. Just like in the Himalayas. I was up in Rishikesh and we had a yoga conference, and my spiritual teacher was giving a seminar there, and he gave the example, the analogy, how in the Himalayas there's a deer, it's called the musk deer. You know musk, this fragrance? It's a very powerful fragrance. And now they substitute it chemically, but originally it's coming from the belly of the deer. It's a gland. It's very strong flavor. If you have this musk gland, the entire room, the entire building will start smelling very sweet. It's a very powerful fragrance. So the musk deer is roaming the Himalayas, and his whole life he's searching for this fragrance. Where is this sweet smell coming from? Because it's intoxicating. It's really far out. And he dies in pursuit of that fragrance. He can't find it. He can't figure it out. So in the same way, we are also roaming this forest, this asphalt jungle of Copenhagen. We're roaming our own little mountains and forests, looking for that happiness, for that ananda, which we know that it exists because we have some glimpse of it. We had some taste of it. We all have gotten a little drop of that real happiness. And we're looking, and we're trying everything. We're virtually taking the entire world and pulling it through the gates of our senses. But we die in our pursuit of happiness, failing to understand that happiness is already there inside of me. It's not outside, it's inside. So you can't find it outside because it doesn't exist outside. You have to learn the art of looking inside. And what is that art? That is the art of yoga. That is the art of introspection. And that happens in this day and age primarily through chanting of mantra. Because if you would do Hatha Yoga, follow the Yam, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Atyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi, it is very difficult to achieve some sort of mental peace. Just like, for instance, you're coming and you're sitting here in the Hare Krishna temple. And most of us, we're not used to sitting on floors. Let's face it, let's admit it. We're chairmen, we're not floormen. We prefer chairs, right? Because that's the culture, how we're brought up. So, already sitting on a floor for 1 hour makes most of us slightly uncomfortable. So people start shifting around and moving and, okay, how long is he going to last? Okay, all right, the girl said, okay, half-hour talk and then half-hour music. Okay, I can do that. And then it's a feast. And then I can go home. Okay, so don't worry, kiddo. It's going to be over soon. He's already bored. Because, when you're a child, you want things to happen now. Now, when you do yoga, you have to be patient. You have to have a lot of time, a lot of peace of mind, and a lot of determination to really do this properly, in stages. But if you want the shortcut, and because we're, by nature, impatient people in this day and age, Krishna has given us here in the Bhagavad Gita the shortcut, how you can avoid most of the hard work and you can get straight to the happiness part. Would you like that? Would you like to know that? Huh?
Yes.
No hard work, just ice cream immediately? Right here, right now? Does this sound appealing to you?
Yes.
Okay. Or you think this is strange. There must be some trick here. There must be some. No, there's not a catch. It is very simple. Just see all living entities in true equality. Means they're all equal. We're all in this together. We're all of the same nature. It's not me against the rest of the world. But we're all together in this. You see the true equality of all living beings. There is no more duality. There is no more I and mine. There is no more superiority or inferiority complexes. It's just I am part of this loving family. And I'm trying to make my contribution. I'm trying to share my love, my happiness, my peace with the others. In this world there's so much information. We have terabytes of information. All the hard drives are full of it. The phones are full of it. The people's heads are full of it. You think you're educated if you can spit out enough data fast enough. Oh, he's an educated fellow. He knows a lot of stuff. But there's very little wisdom in this world. What does wisdom mean? It means you can connect the dots. You can actually apply this knowledge in practical life. It actually has meaning. It has value. It's not just numbers and stories and names, but it actually makes sense. It's relevant to you. So happiness is what we're looking for. Happiness is relevant. It's important to us. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. That's our reason to be, la raison d'être, our existential pursuit. So Krishna tells us how we can be happy. If we learn to take joy in giving, in serving. Because when we experience something, it's wonderful. But when we can share this experience with others, it's even more pleasurable. Like, who enjoys more, the person who cooks or the person who eats?
Cooks.
Are you sure? How can you be so sure?
He's giving it to others.
Because how much can you eat? Now you will see some of the people here are quite expert at putting away large quantities of prasada. But how much can you eat? We're quite limited in our abilities to eat, sleep, mate and defend, because this human body is not very good at these things. We're quite bad at it, you know. Like a bear, he can sleep for 4 months. Can you imagine? You just go to a cave and you just plug out, you just sign off for 4 months. You don't have to go to the bathroom. You don't feel hungry. You got all your food stored on you, on your body. You don't need blankets and other stuff. You have your furry, blanket right on. Human beings sleeping. I didn't get much sleep the last few nights because we had long programs and a lot of travel and night flight and this and that. And then you try to catch up, but it just doesn't work. It just never works. So, this body is not very good at sleeping. Eating, how much can you eat? 3 plates? 4 plates? 5 plates? An elephant eats 250 kilos in one go. I was up in Rishikesh and I saw these signs, these red triangles, these attention signs, and it had elephants on it. And I thought, oh, this is a cute joke, it's nice, scare the people a little bit, put the elephant sign on. But then I saw there was elephant dung, the stool of an elephant, on the road. And there was so much of it, even if you hit that with your car, you can be in serious trouble. What to speak if you meet the real elephant? They can just nudge you off the road. You can be in a jeep, you can be in anything. They just move, and you're gone. They can stomp on it, and you're finished. Trapped in that little metal box. Elephants are very powerful. They take a tree, with their trunk, they just take an entire tree and pluck it right out of the ground, like a mushroom. It's amazing. They eat a banana tree from top to bottom, from the roots to the leaves. They eat the whole thing. Can you imagine that? You just go to the forest and you pick your favorite tree and you just take it home and you eat the whole thing. Now that's pretty good. That's pretty ecological. For us, what we have to do to get food, we go through a lot of trouble just to get our 4 chapatis a day, or whatever it is that your quota is. So, defending, mating, of course we know we're not so good at these things. The animals are better at it.